of our methods. And it's this guy right here. It's got two names, it's so important. The property of zero, it's sometimes called, but more oftenly called the factoring method. Some of you aren't bothered by the fact that it's called the factoring method because you factor pretty easily and naturally. Others of you, this strikes terror into your hearts because factoring is something you have not had great success with. Well, if you haven't had great success with it, my encouragement is go back and practice. Go back to the factoring section. Work every problem you can find. Go to another book, go online, find factoring problems, try them, work them. The more you work, the more it becomes a natural part of your thinking. If you can't do factoring, the factoring method is pretty useful. All right, let's look at an example of a, see that one we had up there. And just an encouragement, don't forget or set aside all the stuff you learned about factoring. What's the first thing you always consider when you're factoring a polynomial?
Largest common factor.
Common factor. Is there a common factor here?
2x.
2x. That's the first thing we do. Obviously, that's why it's called the factoring method. I factored the thing. Here's why it's called the property of zero. Now watch. I got two things multiplied. They give me zero. Right? Now, if two things are multiplied that give me zero, what do I know about those two things? One of them's got to be zero. Right? I mean, can you think of two non-zero numbers that you can multiply and get zero? And?
Zero.
You got to multiply and end up with zero?
Wouldn't it be just plain zero?
Don't stress your brain too hard because there aren't any numbers like that. Okay. There are no numbers that you can, no non-zero numbers you can multiply and get zero. If you're multiplying and get zero, something's got to be zero. So here's when we call it the property of zero. All right? I'm multiplying two things and I'm getting zero. Therefore, either the first one is zero or the second factor is zero. And that's the only way that can be true. If I have two things multiplied that give me zero, either the first one's got to be zero, or the second one's got to be zero. Look at that. Two very simple linear equations to solve. 5 by 2, x is 0. Subtract 3 from both sides, x is negative 3. Solved. There are my two solutions. Remember, I'm looking for 2, right? There they are. So you probably see a strategy working out in the factoring method. Number one, set the polynomial equal to 0. That was already done for us, so thank you very much. That was already done for us, so we didn't have to do anything there. But set it equal to 0. Secondly, factor. Thirdly, set each factor equal to 0. And solve. That's it. That's basically how you do the factoring method. Polynomial equals 0, factor the polynomial, set each of those factors equal to 0, and solve. And do another one. Everybody okay there? And please note that the factoring method is the most direct, the most straightforward, the least problematic. If your polynomial factors, by all means use the factoring method. How about this guy? All right, number 1, set equals 0, done. Number 2, what you gonna do? X plus
plus 1 and x plus
6.
That's it. So there's where we go, oh yeah, I remember how to factor this guy. It's got a 1 in front of the x squared, so I can ask that question, what two numbers multiply to get 6, add to get 7, 1 and 6, factor. All right, set each factor equals 0. If I have two things multiplied to give me 0, either the first one has to be 0, or the second one has to be 0. That means x is -1, or x is -6. Now you understand what that means, right? It means there are only two numbers in the entire universe of numbers that you can substitute for x there and get a true statement. One being -1, the other being -6. You put anything else in there for x, not a true statement. Doesn't work. No solution. No root. Okay? See if I can get to grab a sign.
Nope.
Aha! How's this?
It's another method, but it uses it's the factoring method, so it uses factoring. Well, yeah, but it's more like a review. It's not a review, it's a new section, but it's kind of like a review of factoring. I cannot remember my address from nothing. I don't know my home address because we just moved. But my relative just moved, and I don't know my home address. That's horrible.
A little slow today. Let's do some other stuff the old-fashioned way.
It's not really sad if you haven't been there. I haven't been there. Okay, fine. Yeah. I don't know. I've never been there. I've had 4 homes over the years, so I can just use any address I want to. I don't have to remember this one.
Now, if you look on your web assigned problems, if you get to them sometime, it will say solve this quadratic by factoring. Okay, so it already tells you you're going to use factoring to solve the thing. When you get a problem like this on your test, it's just going to say solve the quadratic. So you're going to have to determine what's the best of the 4 ways to do it. And it might factor. If it's going to factor, what are you going to do first step? Set equals 0. And you remember our shortcut. And move stuff to the other side and change the sign. So I get... Okay, you think, hey, it might factor. If it does, what goes here?
2x and x.
2x and x. 2x and 1x. So there's 2x. Then I got some options because I got a plus or a minus or a minus or a plus. What do you think we're going to divide 33 into? 11 and 3, most likely. Anybody got a... 2x what? Plus 3. Oh, you got signs and everything, huh? So this is minus 11? Let's see. Minus 22x plus 3x. Hey, it's minus 19x. Good job.